The day iron bars closed behind me, the sound felt louder than my own heartbeat, like the world had decided my story was finished and sealed. I had walked into court as a respected businessman and a husband of 12 years, and I walked out in handcuffs, stripped of my company, my reputation, and my freedom. The woman who stood watching as the verdict was read was my wife, the same woman who once held my trembling hands and promised to protect me forever. Her face showed no tears, no regret, only calm certainty. In that moment, I understood something terrifying and simple at the same time. She had planned everything, and she believed I was done. Before prison, my life looked perfect from the outside. I was a co-owner of a growing company, admired for my quiet discipline and fairness. I believed in building things slowly, honestly, and I believed even more in loyalty. My wife came from a powerful business family, and when we married, people said I was lucky. They said I had married into security, into influence. I never imagined that influence would one day crush me. She handled the legal side of the business, the paperwork, the compliance, the things I trusted her with completely. I focused on people, on vision, on growth. That trust became the knife she used. The accusations came suddenly, like a storm without warning. Fraud, manipulation of funds, abuse of authority. I didn't even understand half of what they were saying at first. Documents with my forged signatures, accounts I had never opened, decisions I had never approved. Every trail led to me, perfectly crafted, perfectly timed. My wife stood as the key witness, calm and convincing, explaining how she had uncovered my crimes and tried to save the company. I kept waiting for the truth to appear, for someone to notice the gaps, but lies, when repeated with confidence, can sound like facts. When the judge spoke the sentence, it felt unreal, like watching someone else's life fall apart. Prison was not just a place, it was a slow erasure of who I thought I was. Days blended into nights, and hope became something fragile, something I hid so it wouldn't break. I was no longer a businessman or a husband. I was just a number, a man with a story no one wanted to hear. The hardest nights were not the cold or the noise, but the silence after lights out, when my mind replayed everything I had lost. I wondered how easily love had turned into betrayal, how someone who shared my bed had also built my cage. What my wife didn't know was something I had never used, never even thought of as important. I was the only son of a man whose name was spoken quietly in boardrooms and with respect in financial circles. My father had stepped away from public life years ago, choosing simplicity over power, and he taught me to do the same. He believed wealth should be invisible, influence quiet. Because of that, my connection to him was never public, never documented in flashy ways. I built my own path, my own reputation, believing that was the right thing to do. That choice almost destroyed me, but it also became the seed of my survival. From prison, I wrote one letter. It was not a plea for rescue, not a complaint. It was simply the truth, laid out carefully, calmly, with evidence I had memorized during endless nights. My father received it and understood immediately. He did not rush in with anger or threats. He did what he always did. He waited, watched, and worked quietly. Investigators began to appear, not connected to me, not connected to my case, but connected to patterns in the company my wife now fully controlled. Audits were triggered. Old records were re-examined. Lies, no matter how carefully built, start to crack when light is applied from enough angles. Months passed before anything changed for me, but something did change. Guards looked at me differently. Whispers moved through the halls. One morning, I was called in and told new evidence had surfaced. The same documents that convicted me were now being questioned. Digital trails pointed away from me, toward accounts linked indirectly to my wife and people she trusted. The company she had taken as a trophy was now under investigation for crimes far larger than the ones she accused me of. When I finally walked out of prison, the sky looked unreal, too wide, too bright. I was thinner, quieter, but not broken. My name was cleared in the same court where it had been destroyed. The company was frozen, then transferred back, not as revenge, but as correction. My wife disappeared from public view, her image of control collapsing under the weight of her own actions. I did not celebrate. I did not feel triumph. I felt something softer and heavier at the same time, like grief finally releasing its grip. I chose not to return as the same man. I stepped back from the spotlight again, appointing leaders who valued transparency and fairness. I visited the prison I had been held in, not to relieve pain, but to offer second chances where I could. I learned that power means nothing if it isn't guided by truth, and love means nothing if it demands betrayal to survive. My story did not end behind bars, and it did not begin with revenge. It ended with understanding. Sometimes the world will bury you before it knows who you really are. Sometimes the people closest to you will be the ones who push you into the dark. But even then, truth has a way of breathing, slowly and patiently, until the walls fall. And when they do, you don't walk out the same, but you walk out stronger, knowing that no prison is permanent when your heart still remembers who you are.